How do we tell when we are about to enter a bull market? And are we going to enter a bull market in 2026? Today, I'm going to be walking you through some of the best bull market indicators on TradingView, what you need to be looking at for the potential future, and actually monitoring the charts so you can know exactly when we're about to enter that next cycle for Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto markets. None of this is financial advice. You are responsible for your own funds here, but let's dive into the video. So here we have a Bitcoin, and there are a few things that you should be looking at when it comes to this for looking at the next potential big bull market opportunity. The first thing we're going to look at here today is the golden cross slash death cross indicator. Now, what is this and what does it mean? Well, it's pretty straightforward, guys. It is two moving averages on the daily that we can look at and wait for them to cross in certain directions to determine the macro direction for the long term for an asset. Now, this applies to basically every asset that has liquidity, but it is particularly useful and reliable on Bitcoin. So let's zoom in here and see what this is all about. Typically, a golden cross or a death cross is when a 200 SMA and a 50 SMA cross on any chart. So here we can see we have a golden cross here where we have the 200 SMA right there as the red line and then the 50 SMA crossing it as the green line. And what does this do? Well, it begins a trend here towards the upside until eventually it crosses towards the downside and starts a downward trend. Now, where is Bitcoin right now in relation to that? Well, we can see that yes, Bitcoin is currently heading over a trend line, which is super important. But more importantly, if we are just looking at this first indicator, we can see that those two lines are very much on the path to colliding here. So if Bitcoin stays in this area long enough, we will see these two collide. We will see a golden cross, and that is one of the best indicators of the market turning and us potentially entering a bull market. Now, this isn't always going to be the case, but what we can say is we should be expecting somewhat of a wave up when this happens anyway. Obviously, do not use super high leverage. This is long-term stuff, so you want to be doing this on spot if you are looking for trades because there will be counter trades towards the downside when we do get these crosses. For example, here, what we just showed you, we can see we got this golden cross here, but we had two massive pullbacks before we had any direction towards the upside. So always look out for that. And here we can see we have this death cross. And yes, we had also a pullback here to begin this trend line before the major dump down. So what can we expect here? Well, yes, if these two cross towards the upside, we should be expecting volatility in this area. And then once we do start breaking important highs, we start making higher lows as well, then that could be a great opportunity to potentially begin getting into Bitcoin again and riding that wave up. There are countless examples of this happening that have led to uptrends, but also just huge bull markets to accompany that. So again, it's the golden cross or death cross indicator. You can find this simply by searching it in the indicator tab on TradingView. The second indicator I want to talk about here today, guys, is the hash ribbons indicator. Again, you can find this by simply typing in hash ribbons, and I actually have my own strategy version here if you want to check it out. But what we can see here is this little chart at the bottom of the screen that will pop up. Do think about avoiding these as long signals and actually just look at this chart more on the sense of when these cross. This is usually where we can get some big turnaround. But you want to accompany this with cycles. So if we've been in a bear market for a year or 6 months like we have been recently, well, this could be a great time to be monitoring hash ribbons and waiting for a cross towards the upside. Now, if you don't know what hash ribbons are or what they do, it's very simple. These are also moving averages, much like the golden cross one, but these track hash rate. So what is hash rate? It's basically the power that goes into mining Bitcoin. Now, this will obviously go up over time as mining operations expand and mining difficulty increases. But this is something that is directly correlated with the ecosystem around Bitcoin. And of course, Bitcoin is the mothership, so most of crypto will follow Bitcoin when it enters that bull market stage. Now, if we look at previous cycles here, guys, we can see when these have crossed. Now, let's take a look at the signals here because we get the signal in when these cross. So we can see here in this case, we had a long signal in July of 2020, just after that COVID crash. And if you'd have got in here, I mean, this would have been a ridiculous amount of profit, 45% on this one. Another cross here all the way to the top. Actually have to drag up because it's so far off the chart. 163% in that case. And yes, of course, they're not always going to be profitable here, but the point isn't to blindly follow the signals. The point is to look to see when the hash ribbons are about to cross and potentially change up your strategy and prepare for a bull market. Now, again, take into account cycles. So if we're in a bear market and we get across, great. If we are in a bull market and we get across, just be sure that we haven't had 3 or 4 crosses already towards the upside and a bunch of profit, because yes, you could be in a situation where you get that last trade that isn't as profitable as we can see here. But it's not about the profit here, it's about determining when we are entering a bull market, and as a bull market indicator, this could be a great option, particularly if it aligns with other things like the golden cross or just breaking over major resistances. Now, I'm not going to sit to you and talk to you about RSI or MACD here, because most of you already know what that is and what to look for with divergences. But what I am going to talk to you about is also fairly obvious, but a lot of people miss it because they're too wrapped up in all of the technicals. So what I'm going to say here is, particularly in a bear market like we have been in, what you want to be looking for when entering a sustained bull market is actually just a break of the all-time high. Now, this might seem pretty straightforward, but a lot of people miss this and they expect us to just head down after getting close to that all-time high. So what we can see here, now if we do go back in time on the Bitcoin chart, and again, we're using the Bitcoin chart because it is leading the entire crypto market, so it makes sense to be looking at it. We can see all of the previous all-time highs for every bull run. So obviously this one here, $250 per Bitcoin. Once we broke that, boom, a massive increase. Then we have this all-time high here. Once we break that, a huge parabolic run starts. Then we have the $20,000 run here. And of course, after we broke that, guys, what do we expect? We expect continuation towards the upside, in which, yes, Bitcoin ran to $65,000. Now, of course, it's not going to be every single time. We can see here in recent cycles, we typically get 2 massive waves up. So it's important to note what's happening and how Bitcoin develops over time, which is why I'm walking you through this entire timeline. So yes, typically in previous cycles before, I would say 2021, it's a smash of the all-time high and a massive run up. But if we are out of a bull market and we start heading up without reaching ridiculous lows, then this is usually a fake out pump, in which, yes, we then start the real bear market. But after we hit that, we can see that, yes, we did have a huge run up after breaking this high here. Now, it is going to get more trappy, and we had ETFs and more liquidity coming in here. But overall, this is still a massive increase after breaking this all-time high of a whopping 70% for Bitcoin. So what can we expect here if we do end up breaking the all-time high at $26,000? Well, what I would say is probably a similar increase, but it is worth looking at the past and noting that Bitcoin typically does have smaller increases every bull market when you are looking at percentages. So we can see this curving over time here for Bitcoin, and it's worth taking that into account when we are looking at this in terms of waiting for that next bull market. So as Bitcoin does break that 126K zone, we could probably expect somewhere around the $200,000 region for the next bull run. Now, of course, the more it gets suppressed, the more inflation happens with the dollar and other currencies, the more this could potentially go up in relation to the dollar. But these are factors that we can't really control or predict. So what we will do here is basically play it by ear when this happens. And if we are looking for the next major run up or wave for Bitcoin, in the simplest form here, guys, it is when we break the all-time high and we sustain above that all-time high region. but you could find ways in before that if you do look at the golden cross and if you do look at other things like hash ribbons. And we can see here the hash ribbons strategy has performed exceptionally well over the past 10 years. So hopefully you've got some value from this. Those are the three main important bull market indicators or signals from me that I use as a trader that's been in the space for over 10 years now. These are straightforward, they're simple, and they're easy to really just get a grasp on. So if you are struggling with the overcomplication of a lot of indicators out there, simply just rely on this because most professional smart money traders will be doing something similar. But that is going to be it from me. Be sure to search all of these up on TradingView and check them out for yourself. But I will see you guys in the next video. Cheers.